Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video. Just doing a quick intro for the video you're about to watch, which is taken from a live stream where I was talking about all the gaming and esports news, just a little roundup that I do. You can catch that on Twitch if you're interested. But anyway, one of the stories was about this Martin Luther King March Through Time Fortnite promotion that had been put in. And I was a bit reluctant, I'll be honest, to broach the subject because I think, obviously, this particular topic of civil rights in America, it can be fraught with peril if you say something stupid. It's a very emotive topic, and you don't want to blunder in and kind of not be considerate of all sides. That being said, I did a stream where I gave my opinions about it that you're about to see, and I just wanted to clarify what that was and how I feel vindicated now after the fact. And so the reason I wanted, I said this was a bad idea and I wish they hadn't gone about it this way is, I mean, first of all, it just feels really tasteless. It feels really tasteless to have a great figure, a great civil rights figure, a great historic figure as Martin Luther King reduced to essentially a cartoon character. And then when you consider for his activism he was assassinated, you're putting him in a shooting game. It just doesn't sit right with me at all. It felt like it was trivializing somebody who's made an unbelievable contribution to equality in America, equal right, I mean, all over the world. So the opposite side of the argument, of course, is it's a good thing if children learn about Martin Luther King, which I fully agree. I certainly hope that if some good comes of this, it at least encourages them to go and read about the civil rights movement in America and understand it wasn't ancient history when all this stuff was happening. But I've got to be said, I don't know if this was the avenue for it, because it was going to be fraught with peril, because people on the internet, especially younger people, are going to troll to get a reaction. And that was my gut feeling. And lo and behold, after I did my stream, the story started coming out. They said when they put this in the game, they were like, we learned from our last event, which was they did an event called We the People, which had numerous prominent black figureheads in America talking about their experiences, including Killer Mike from Run the Jewels, and people were gathering around these large screens as it was broadcast and pelting it with tomatoes. So ahead of the Martin Luther King March Through Time, they deactivated tomatoes as an emote. But they forgot to deactivate all emotes. And so you ended up with, I mean, just fairly ridiculous things that I don't think are necessarily malicious. But it does trivialize the civil rights movement to see fucking Rick Sanchez and Superman raising the roof and dancing around to the I Have a Dream speech, which happened. And then, of course, you have the fact that for whatever reason, Epic Games didn't have the foresight to deactivate the whipping emote. And so you end up with people literally in the game whipping civil rights figures, and hopefully you can all understand why that's an issue and that's tasteless. So obviously they got some criticism for this. You can see that there was a Kotaku article talking about the problems that they had. They had to deactivate all emotes, which of course that led to a backlash from the community. They were like, listen, we don't want you to deactivate our emotes. We want to be able to use them. And of course, in some cases you've unlocked them or paid for them. So it was a clumsy concession to kind of deactivate them for the purposes of this promotion, if you want to call it that. Then you had on Monday, Martin Luther King's daughter came out and basically distanced herself from the whole event. She said specifically that decisions around licensing my father's intellectual property are outside of my personal purview. And this was after the Martin Luther King Jr. Center came out and said the King Center does not license Dr. King's intellectual property, and then therefore we were not involved in any decisions concerning the endeavor with Time Incorporated and PlayStation Fortnite. And so you're left with an even worse taste. Not that it was just poorly thought out and tasteless to begin with, as I said, for all the reasons. I think I saw a screenshot as well of someone loading in to the Martin Luther King experience And the tip at the bottom, the gameplay tip was, aim for the head. They just didn't think this out and think about the optics of it all. But now you're also left with the idea of not even his family, not even his estate, not even the Martin Luther King Center, which still does a lot of work for civil rights, is in charge of this. And so it's once again a sizable corporation leveraging a great figure in history for their own purposes. And that is never going to sit right with me at all. And I feel deeply sorry for his family if they felt it was tasteless as I did. Now, I guess the pleasant surprise is that I haven't seen anyone attacked for being racist for pointing out this was tasteless. That was my concern, that it might come off as tone deaf, the criticism. But I think most people have seen the inherent problems with it. So with all of that said, here's the live stream as it was. And these are all the additional factors to consider and about the opinion I had. Hope you enjoy it. Hope it's informational and entertaining. And I'll see you next time. Now, I realise I've been a bit too woke there, haven't I? I've been a bit too... I'm probably scaring my core audience of evil right-wing people that I'm told I have because I'm a right-wing demagogue, evidently. Just been talking pro-union, pro-women, punish people who abuse people in the workplace, but these are my conservative talking points. Now we're going to go the other way, and I'm just going to say I woke up and I saw something, and it's a trick, it's a trap. This is how they get you. They do something that's really tasteless but well intended. So how do you criticize it? Well, you just have to go in and do it, don't you? Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and say, this is ridiculous, and no, let's not do more of this. So get ready. In what will be the segment that gets me cancelled, this is the one, guys, come and get me. You couldn't make it work with a fucking 15-year-old novel that I wrote. Let's go now. This is the one. This is it now. I woke up and saw something, and I just couldn't believe it. Was, again, it's one of those moments where you have to ask yourself, is this a satire? And then it turned out to be true. And that is that they put Martin Luther King, the legendary civil rights activist and one of the most inspirational figures in American history, in Fortnite. Martin Luther King, legendary civil rights activist, fantastic orator, did so much historically to advance the social standing of black people, which lived in a not just a metaphorically racially divided country, a literal divided country, and did it with a dignity under tremendous pressure, and all the while espoused non-violent protest as being the principal way through which to affect societal change. For me personally, hard to think of a better representation of activism, certainly the last 150 years, it's certainly in America. And so, to see him put in Fortnite as part of like an art installation, and I should add, by the way, guys, was assassinated in unbelievably dubious circumstances after being spied on by the FBI and considered a threat to the American government, because due to released documents that have now come out because of the Freedom of Information Act, we now know exactly what the American government was doing to him. And far be it from me to suggest anything untoward went on. It's probably likely something untoward went on, isn't it? It's weird how all, round about that time, isn't it? It's weird how all those people that were essentially pushing back against the government and doing it successfully were all taken out by lorn mentally ill people. Incredible, really. Incredible. Lorn mentally ill people or radicals. Madness. Incredible. It's just so weird how it happens. so consistently throughout that period of history. But anyway, just coincidences. The reality is that the way they get you is by, if you criticize this, well, it's a good initiative. More children, more young people know about Martin Luther King, the better. How can you have a problem with that, Richard? And, I guess I can't. I guess you've tricked me. But I think when you talk about such a legendary historical figure, a legendary historical figure who had their lives cut tragically short in very dubious circumstances, who literally died for the cause for which they stand, I think you have to handle it with a certain level of tact and tastefulness. And I think putting him in a game where people can do the L dance, or a loading screen comes up and says, "Aim for the head," with Martin Luther King's face next to it, I think you've missed the mark, personally, Epic Games. I think this ain't it, Chief, as the kids would say. And so when you read what it actually is, because I saw how a lot of people were like, "Oh, what? They're going to have him flossing." I mean, that would be an abomination that we could all agree with. Of course, it isn't like that. It's basically it's called an experience, and so you get to watch the legendary, fantastic, and still sadly unattained I Have a Dream speech. But I'll just read you what the experience is. It says, "March through time will teleport players 60 years in the past to a reimagined Washington, D.C. called DC 63. This experience was built by the following members, and players will travel to the Lincoln Memorial, the United States National Mall, where Dr. King made the iconic I Have a Dream speech. You get to watch that. The experience also features museum-inspired points of interest and quests you can complete with other players. These quests should bring an important reminder that relates to Dr. King's speech. We move forward when we work together." Completing... And so far, so good, right? But then, completing the Dr. King and civil rights movement challenges unlocks a DC 63 spray. You also, if you complete quests, you unlock an achievement. Ugh. Ugh. Just no. And also, I've got to say, if you don't know how the internet works, let me see if I can find you a screenshot. Where was it? It just feels ripe for mimetic abuse, let's say. So in the same way, we can all acknowledge that while, for example, the try-hard emote isn't in and of itself racist on Twitch, that would be an absurd premise. It is the face of a very successful, very well-regarded black content creator on the Twitch platform. The people that spam it every time there's a black person on their screens are probably fucking, they have a weird attitude to race. That's the most generous and charitable interpretation I'll give them. And so, unfortunately, even things that are well-intended, even things that are done in the correct spirit can, of course, be abused by people that have bad intentions. And so you end up with this weird situation. Again, back to the try-hard emote. Should Twitch remove it to stop the abuse? Well, that's the erasure of a fantastic black content creator that deserves to be recognized for their contribution to the streaming landscape. You're letting the bad parties win. We used to be against that. So what do we do? What's the sensible way to police it? it's tough. But someone on the Discord sent this screenshot, and it was from the Fortnite event. And you can see there, it's a segregated toilet where, you know, white people and black people weren't allowed to use the same drinking fountains. And it's got fucking cartoon Rick Sanchez there. And I just think to myself, like, guys, this is so ripe for people to actually not learn about the civil rights movement and not learn about Martin Luther King's legacy, but actually diminish it. I see a screenshot like that, and my immediate reaction is, this is missed the mark. And yep, Jace has put one in the chat, right? And, you know, it this time, instead of a Rick, you know, it's a fucking xenomorph. I'll bring that across for you guys now. You can see that there. There's a fucking xenomorph on a stool in front of the "I have a dream" speech. Like, guys, please, like, this is fucking dumb. This isn't honoring the legacy of a great person. And you know, look, again, the prevailing argument we circle back to is, well, sure, look, if one kid learns more about Martin Luther King and becomes inspired, do the right thing, and, you know, move forward in their activism, then it's a success. But I'll just go one further. There has to be a better avenue than Fortnite for people to learn about this type of stuff. You know, it's interesting. Fortnite has just a glut of content creators, right? And yet, surely a better way of engaging would be, you know, take a popular content creator and have them do like a guest lecture about it, right? You know, and maybe you can augment it with some official Fortnite graphics if you need to, if you feel you need that there. But when you turn it over to an audience, an immature audience, with like no adult supervision, no adult influence, it's rife for abuse. It was a bad idea in the first place, in my opinion. It comes from a good place, but I just know too much about the internet. I dread to think what 4chan have done with that, you know? And you end up with a situation like, why, you know, that surely surely kids are learning about him in school as well. You know, I did. And I know I'm a boomer. I probably went to schools, you know, when they actually taught things. But it just seems to me that, I know no one's going to criticize it because everyone's squeamish about the idea of saying, listen, good cause, good initiative, great figurehead to choose, but obviously terrible in its execution because they're scared you're going to get called a racist or anti-progressive. Well, you know, they call me that anyway. So I guess I'm free to criticize it. Free at last to criticize it. But this is a diminishing of a great person's legacy, in my opinion, and certainly not the avenue through which I would want kids to be learning about Martin Luther King. I think it has to be treated with a dignity.